Hey, what's up everybody? In today's video, I thought I will share with you some of the errors and problems that beginners Laravel developer face. So when I was just starting off with Laravel, I used to do simple stupid mistakes, simple errors that I couldn't figure out. It would take me like 30 minutes. Yeah, so a lot of Googling. Alright, so we'll go through some of the problem and how to debug it. We'll talk about some debugging skills and yeah, so let's get started. Alright, so I've installed a new Laravel project. I will do PHP artisan serve. By the way, I've also run PHP artisan make auth behind the scenes. So let's say I'll go to login and let's say I'll try to register or login, something like that. Alright, so this is the pretty basic error message that everyone should have got. So if we read this message clearly, it will we will get idea that it is related to the SQL. So it is saying access denied for this and this user. So it is related to the setting. So for example, we have given the database name that doesn't exist or wrong username and password. So when you read the error message with care and think about it, you'll get the idea about how to solve that. So let's do that. Alright, so as we can see, we have correctly configured all the settings, like we have specified database, username and password. But when we try to refresh the page, we still get the same error. See, so this is one of the problem. So the reason behind this is it is remembering the old state. It is not refreshed correctly. So for that you need to go back and then refresh the page. So after making necessary changes, you need to restart the server. So for example, we are running in this case PHP artisan serve. I will just close it and then rerun it. Let's go again. Let's try to log in. There we go. So this time it works. So if after making changes you do not see the changes you make sure you have restarted your server and try again. So another error that we got is related to CSRF token. So let's say we have some form. Alright, in web.php, let me create a simple route for, let's say, form. So I'll create that form.blade.php and let me put a simple form here. Now if we visit form, there we go. So if we want to if we are trying to submit this form, yeah, we get this kind of error. So method not allowed exception. So that means the method that you are posting to in your form is not correct. So let's see. So I'm posting this request to /form, see, and it is the post request. And if we see on web.php, we have a route defined with form, but it is with get, right? So we need a route with post request. And let's tie and dump. So let's try again. Yeah, so this is the error 419. Sorry, your session has expired. Please refresh and try again. So at this point we have no idea what the error is. So it basically occurs because of CSRF token field absent in your form. So what Laravel does is it protects you from any cross-site request, like this form should be inside this Laravel app. So to determine that, Laravel uses a field called CSRF field, which protects us from those security vulnerabilities. To get rid of that error, you need to just add CSRF. So if you are in Laravel 5.7, you can use like this, or for previous version, I think you have to use CSRF field, something like this. Now if we go and try to refresh the page, let's see. Let's go back, refresh the form again so that we get new changes. There we go. So this time it works. So we deal with two kind of the problems here. So one is after making changes, we are on same page and try to refresh, it didn't work. We go back and then refresh the form so that this CSRF field that we changes take effect. All right, and then again if we submit, then only it work. Yeah, so these are something you need to consider. So these are very basic debugging techniques. So another very basic error or problem that we face is like sequence of route definition not matched. So what I mean by that is, for example, we have these routes in web.php, right? So for example, let me create a resourceful route, or let's say I define a route. Let's say we have this route form, let's say form application, right? So in our route at some point we defined this route form application to take us to the application form, and then so after some time, or we need some route like, so this usually happens in big projects. So there are sequence of route, a hell lot of route in this file, and user have no idea that this route is already defined up there and below. For example, if user defines this route form and specifies the ID like form ID, and it will be some ID, and then it will take us to, for example, let's do something. So die and dump, let's say form ID. Yeah, we'll get this ID. This is the placeholder, and let's die and dump that form ID. Let's keep some message also so that we recognize it. So now let's visit form /application. All right, so yeah, everything is specified here, like what kind of error it is. You can get the idea. So syntax error, unexpected route, t-string. So it means we have some syntax error. So it is highlighting this route post. So it is a bit difficult to how to find where the error is. So basically what we do is we try to see this route post in this file. So we see route post. Yeah, this looks totally fine. Then we get confused. It is showing route post and where the error is. So basically the idea is it is saying that it got error at this point, line 26, while trying to execute. So it may be just before that, right? So if you see just before this line of code, you'll see we missed this semicolon over here. So if you ever got this kind of error message where something is highlighted, try to see just above that line. All right, so if we go this line, we forgot that. let's put that, and let's try to refresh. Yeah, so we solved that problem, but this time we got different problem. So it is highlighting this call to undefined function get. So if you don't see any error just before this line, then it might be this line. So you can see we are missing the double colon route get. Let's do that, route get. Alright, so once again refresh. Yeah, so we can see the form, right? So it is loading this form, application form, and let's see, we give some ID expecting it to hit this route. So instead of application, let's give some ID. Yeah, this time it works totally fine, right? So for example, let's say if this route is defined below this route, for example this route just below here, and if we try to hit form 1, let's see what happens. It still worked, but let's say if we go to application, form application, see, this route never get executed. So this might be sometimes frustrating that we have defined this route, but why not we are getting this form, we are going to this route, right? So application form, but this route never got hit, we are not seeing form. So that is because we have some general route that is defined just above this. So in big project there are many route definitions, so that you might not find that. So the rule is you always define the more specific route above. So it will PHP will read from top to bottom, as you know. So it finds this, so it says okay, application might be the placeholder, so it is displaying the application as the ID. Alright, so that's the problem here. So here is the specific route, like more defined. We are saying no ID, this it should match this string, but it's a any placeholder that we get from the URL, we match this route. So the solution here is you define the more specific one above, right? So this is well defined, form application should load form, no any other condition here, but here is many condition. It can be ID, it can be anything, although you can define other route parameter, we will not go there. So this is the solution to this kind of problem that you face. So in your project, you might not, if you do not find that your route definition work, try to see for this route sequence. Alright, so that might solve your problem. So another very common mistake is we forgot to import classes. Let me quickly register some name. Alright, so we are logged in. Now we are hitting this route, we are going to home and home index. Let's go to home controller and go to index, or just list of all users. So all users, we fetch user all and then die and dump that. Alright, so this is the very common error you might have seen. So if you read it, it is saying that class app http controllers user not found. So if you ever get error like class not found, you need to see if this class is correctly defined or not. So it is saying app http controllers user. So we go to app http controllers, so there is no user class, right? So that is because we are under this namespace app http controller and we are using this user class. So if we do not specify any class correctly, that where it refers to, then it will look for this namespace. So it will say okay, you haven't specified any specific namespace for it, so this user class might be inside this namespace, that's why you haven't defined it. So then it will throw the error that this class not found, instead of telling you that you forgot to import this class. Alright, so that is a common trap. So the solution here is, of course, import the class. There you can import it here, like use app user. Alright, use app user, and then we are using app user here. Alright, so it works, right? Alright, so another common problem that we face is like invalid arguments applied to for each. So you might have seen that error quite a bit. So let's say we are in same method that we are previously in, and I made some changes, like we are already facing all users, and then I have returned a view and then passed in this variable into the home view. Alright, so if we go to home.plate, this is the all default template, and I've added this bit of code. So we are looping through all users and displaying the user's name here. Alright, so let's refresh. Yeah, we can see name. So if some reason in our controller, so where we are passing this variable, this failed and return us null. Alright, so if it's for some reason returned null, then we'll get that error. Yeah, like that. So invalid arguments applied for each. So it is telling us that for each here in home.plate we are supplying the invalid argument to for each. So it accepts the array or collection, and we are supplying null. So it also tells us where it is, everything we need to know. So whenever you get this kind of error, just look for your controller and check if some variable is returning null or not. So currently I'm just putting this, but so these are some basic error, and I want to talk about some other basic so not quite error, but some workflow mistakes that beginners usually do. For example, if there is any changes in .env file, like so if they are, suppose they are working in team and someone made changes in .env file, and their co-worker might have pushed that on .env.example, and they forgot to read it from here and change in their .env file. So it might not work as expected. So they might be wondering why it wasn't working. So same for opposite. So for example, any entry-level Laravel developer working, they might forget, they make changes on their env file, but they forgot to push make changes in .env.example, so that other co-worker might know about that, and they just push the code, and other says that it doesn't work for some reason, your code might be error, and yeah, it might waste some time on debugging. So it is always good practice to, whenever you make changes on .env, make changes on .env.example before pushing. Alright, so another mistake is like, for example, let's say some other worker or some other developer just added some package and then push the code, and when you pull that code and run in your end, it says some package not found, something error like that. Okay, so if you notice any changes on composer.json, immediately run composer update. So alright, so that will solve your error in most of the time. And also after making some changes in this autoload classes, or some changes, making any change on here, like if your any senior developer make changes on these files, or added some more entries in this class composer.json, so what you need to do is you need to run composer dump autoload. Alright, so what it will do is it will reread this file and optimizes it and autoload these files. Okay, so if you make any changes here, just run that. Alright, so these are some of the errors and problem that beginner Laravel developer face. So if there are some other common problem that you find, you can tell me on comment section. It will be helpful for somebody. Hope you find this video helpful. I will see you in the next video. Bye.